friends, this is Karen from Blue Rooster Farm, and today we're going to be in the kitchen, and I have just finished picking a ton of our raspberries that we have in the garden, and I need to do something with these, and I also have some that are in the freezer that I need to use up from last year. So I am going to be sharing with you how to make freezer jam with raspberries, and also how to make raspberry syrup that you can and make shelf stable. So if you're interested in seeing what I do with all of these raspberries, stick around. Thanks for sticking around. Like I said in the intro, I have been picking raspberries, and we have a lot this year, and it's great. They are beautiful, big, black raspberries. We have a couple of raspberry bushes that have a brighter pink, and they turn kind of a purple, a light lavender purple when they're done. And so we do have about 2 different varieties out there, but this is the second picking, and this is bigger than the first. And I have a feeling we probably got at least this much more out there once they all finish ripening up, as long as it doesn't get so hot and dry that they just dry up. But today is kind of a cloudy day. I don't think we're going to get any rain, but that helps those raspberries that are on there ripen up and not dry out. So we are going to work some of these up. I also had this big package, and I weighed this, and it's 4.7 pounds of raspberries from last year that I need to use up. And so I want to make some raspberry syrup with this. With the fresher raspberries, I am going to be making freezer jam. And I think there's probably a way of making freezer jam without the seeds. I know some people don't like the seeds. I think if you just put it through a strainer and do the seeds like that, they will come out. But we're going to put the seeds in today. I don't know exactly how much of the pulp you would need. I know that you need a certain number of cups of the fruit itself, but once you pulp it, I don't know if that is the same as using the whole berry. So I'm going to have to research that. And if I decide to, I might come back and sometime make a video on seedless raspberry freezer jam. That would be really good too. But we're going to do the syrup and the regular freezer jam. But first of all, I got to get these cleaned up, and I need to get these thawed out. So I will bring you back when I've got these all set. Okay, so I've got all my berries washed. I just put them in a giant wash tub, but you could put them in your sink too. Just be sure you clean it really well. Filled it with water, let them float around for a few minutes, and just gently with my hand move them around. And then I use this, and I've got a bigger one too. It's small enough, the spaces are small enough to let the raspberries stay in here, but it's able to get like little tiny leaves or something, or even just dust pieces or grass pieces to come out. So it makes it really nice. And so I scoop those out, and I put them in a large, let me grab this here. I have a really large colander, and put them in there, let them drain for just a little bit. And then I put them on these lipped, or they have a lip on them, cookie sheets. And now I'm going to flash freeze them. And flash freezing is where you lay your fruit or your vegetables or whatever you're freezing in a thinner layer, and then you freeze it until they're solid. And then you take them and put them into a freezer bag or a Ziploc bag or something like that. Now last year I did not flash freeze my raspberries, and it was difficult to get small amounts out. But this year I'm going to do it because it makes it easy when I stick my hand into a Ziploc bag, I can pull out what I need for muffins, a cake, for smoothies, for a fruit salad, and not have to worry about breaking them up and having to thaw out the whole bag to get them. So this is a really easy way to do it. I will put these in the freezer. After they are frozen, probably tomorrow morning, I will just grab some freezer bags and put them frozen into those bags, and that way they will keep separated. So that's the way I'm planning on doing it today. Now, a lot of times I don't have the freezer space to do this. Right now we have the freezer space, so that is what I'm going to do. Now I went ahead and I reserved 6 cups of our raspberries for our freezer jam. On the frozen berries, I defrosted them just enough to get them to break up, and I'm going to set this on the stove, and this is going to be our raspberry syrup, and I'm going to set this on the stove on low and let those warm up while I'm making the freezer jam. So I'm going to get all the ingredients for the freezer jam together, and what I need is 6 cups of fresh raspberries, let me see if I can see that from here. I need 5.5 cups of sugar, 3/4 cup of water, and 1 3/4 ounces of Sure-Gel powdered fruit pectin. Now I'm just using a pectin mix that I get in bulk at the Mennonite store, and it would be just a heaping 1/3 cup of pectin mix to a box of Sure-Gel. So that is what I'm going to gather up. I'm going to get these in the freezer, get this on the stove, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got everything going. Raspberries are warming up. The others are in the freezer. Now let's make our freezer jam. So we have 6 cups of fresh raspberries, and you're going to need to smash these up and get them all nicely juiced. And these raspberries, because I hadn't picked them for several days, are very ripe, which they're perfect actually, but they shouldn't be too hard to mash up, and they're not. I tell you, you can pretty much go out every day if it's been sunny and pick raspberries, if you leave, the ones that aren't quite ripe on there. But I usually go every 2 days, and that way it's worth your time to go out there and pick them. So what I'm doing is I am just getting that pulp all smashed up so the juices are running, and we don't want any whole berries, we just want it mashed. Now, once you mash them, you should have about 3 cups of juice. And you do want to be exact on this, because if you're not, your jam might not set up. It will taste wonderful. And I've had a time or two, I think it was strawberry jam, where it didn't set up, but it was great on pancakes and waffles and biscuits. So even if it doesn't set up, it's still going to be really good as a topping. Looks good. I've got about 3 cups in there, just a shy bit more, but it should be fine. If it's over by very much, you do want to take out the stuff that is extra. Now, if you were wanting to do seedless raspberry freezer jam, at this point you would want to push your raspberries through a sieve or a wire mesh to get the seeds out, and you'll want to have 3 cups of the pulp. And I believe from what I've read, then you can follow the directions. I haven't tried it. I don't know if that's accurate. but it would sound like it should work because you're basically having the same thing. You just don't have the seeds in it. And I'm just getting all those berries mashed down good. Okay, get all that off there. One thing when you're working with raspberries is the raspberry juice does stain, so you'll want to watch it on your clothing. If you have white countertops, you're going to have purple countertops when you're done if you drip. And it does come off with a little bit of chlorine mixture water that will take it off. I usually, especially after picking juicy raspberries or working with them, my fingers are purple, and I've taken hydrogen peroxide and that has removed the stains too. But it does do a number on your fingernails, but you know, again, the hydrogen peroxide will try to bleach some of that out, and it's not bad for you. So I'm going to slowly add this 6 cups of sugar to my berries. I should have 3 cups mashed berries. I'm going to grab a spoon. Okay, I'm not sure which one I'll use. I think I'll go ahead and use a spatula. And so let's add this. And this is going to make a lot. And I may need to go to a larger bowl. Yeah, let me grab my larger bowl. So I like to use clear ones so that you can kind of see what's going on inside the bowl. So I'm going to pour that mixture that we started adding sugar to right here. Get all that good stuff in there. Last year I used the raspberries, and I believe I made raspberry lemonade, and I think I recorded that one. I know I made cherry limeade, raspberry lemonade, strawberry lemonade, and I can't remember which ones I videotaped, but I did have some of those, and they are great to have on your shelf. We have been using up the last of them just this spring because they're so refreshing to drink after working in the yard and it's really hot. So I'll probably be making some of those behind the camera and refilling our shelves. So we're just working that sugar in, getting it all dissolved. And what we're going to do is, after this is mixed in, we are going to let this set for about 10 minutes, and that kind of helps that sugar to dissolve and pulls out those juices from the raspberries. And I tell you what, this looks really good right now. Okay, that is mixed together. I'm going to set that aside. Now I will come back in 10 minutes and we will finish off this raspberry freezer jam, but I want to go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do first because I'll have this ready when I come back. So into a small saucepan, we're going to mix our water, which was 3/4 cup of water. And the pectin, it's either a box of your Sure Gel or whatever box of pectin you're using. This is not for the low sugar and things. It has to be just the regular pectin. If you have one of those, they probably have a recipe for making freezer jam with those products. Now I've got my 3/4 cup of water here. A box of pectin has 6 tablespoons of pectin in it, and 5 tablespoons is a 1/3 cup. So we just want to do a heaping 1/3 cup. Now, if you wanted to be exact and you wanted to scrape this off, pour it in, and then add another tablespoon, by all means do that. Whenever I do it, I just make it a rounded a rounded mound on top. And then we're going to stir this in and let it dissolve. And then after this is set for 10 minutes, I'm going to go to my stove and I'm going to stir this and heat it up and let it boil for 1 minute. And I'm just going to stir it constantly. It's not very much in there and it'll do it really fast. And once it's boiled for 1 minute, I'll come right back here and we'll add it to our fruit mixture. So I'll have this cooked when I come back. All right, so I have just finished taking this off the stove. It will become a nice clear color, and be sure you boil it for 1 minute because you need to make sure it's completely dissolved. So I have been stirring every few minutes as this has set. And now what we need to do is we need to pour this hot pectin mixture into our raspberries, and we need to stir it for 3 minutes. So I'm going to do that. And I've brought a spatula here to make sure we get it all out, because you'll need all of it. So now we need to stir for 3 minutes. So I am going to get this stirred, and then it will be time to put it in the containers. Now, if you notice when you come back and it's been 10 minutes and it's still kind of grainy, probably want to let it continue to set a little longer than 10 minutes. A lot of times the fruit you're using might not be as juicy and it takes longer to absorb into that liquid, that sugar to absorb into that liquid. So be sure that those crystallized pieces, you know, you might see a few in there, but if it's quite grainy still, let it set longer. But we want to make sure we mix this for 3 minutes and mixing it well. And this looks so yummy right now. Now, after I get this put in our containers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I strain the raspberries to make the raspberry syrup. So I've got the raspberries nicely warmed up so that they're ready to be strained, and that will be right after the jam. So I'm going to just bring you back after 3 minutes is up. All right, 3 minutes is up and it's starting to thicken. So it looks like it's gonna do well this time. And so what I'm going to put mine in are just these plastic containers. You can use plastic containers or you can use glass containers. Now I will tell you, it is not recommended to use regular glass jars anymore. I still do, but you do have to be careful when you are filling them, that you only fill them, you don't fill them completely full. You give enough space at the top for expansion, and you usually don't seal that lid until after they're frozen, and then you close the lid because it's going to want to have room for expansion, and if there's no way for that air to get out, your glass jar will break. They do make freezer safe jars, and those are fine, but we, knowing the risks and being careful not to, you know, hit something with them in the freezer to break them, we do use jars. And the jars that we've used, we used to get the Smucker's all natural peanut butter because it still came in, well, we didn't get it because it came in a jar, but it comes in jars and actual glass jars. And now we make our own, but we had a big stockpile of those. And so now when we freeze anything, like if Andy wants to freeze some soup or something for work, he will put it in one of those jars and then just let it thaw out in the refrigerator, and that works out great. And every once in a while, maybe one of them will get bumped in the freezer or something like that, and it will break. Just know that there is a risk for that. But I'm just using these, and I had 4 of these smaller ones, which will be perfect for Andy and I. And then I have these other ones that are a little bigger. And again, I'm giving plenty of head space at the top so that they have room to expand. And I'm probably giving more than I need to on these, but I don't want to overfill them because that's a lot of jam. I know I've used cottage cheese containers throughout the years, sour cream containers, you name it, just like my mom. And then of course they do have the square shaped freezer containers. I know I've had a lot of those and have used those to freeze with. But it seems like after a couple of uses, the lids get a little tricky to stay on. And I am just going to divide whatever's left in here. This is going to be perfect. Now, once this is in these containers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lids on, and then I'm going to set them over on my counter out of the way, and I need to leave them out. Let's see what it says. I always leave them out for about a day. Yeah, 24 hours. Leave them at room temperature for 24 hours. After that, you can take a peek and see what it looks like and see if they're going to be firm, and they should be at that point. If not, you're just going to have a looser jam, and then you stick them in the freezer from there. So it looks like I've got, and I don't know what size these containers are. No idea. So I've got 3 of this size and 4 of this size. And again, it says to give about a 1/2 inch head space, but I've given myself at least 1 inch there on those. So that should be fine. So I'm gonna get this mess cleaned up, put the lids on these, get them on the counter over here, and then we're gonna start making the raspberry syrup. All right, I started without you. I thought I had the video going and I didn't. I still had it on pause. So I just started just a few of the berries. So what we're doing now is we are straining our raspberries that I had been warming. These are the ones that were the frozen ones, and I have just put it on low and got them nice and hot, just kind of simmered it just a little bit, just so that the berries will be soft and easily strain in this thing right here. So I just realized I need to grab a couple of things, so I'll be right back. Okay, so what I needed was, if you don't have one of these, and these are really handy to have, you can just use a wire strainer like this. Anything with holes that are smaller than the seeds that the raspberries are in. So even if you had a colander that had very small holes, you could use that. But these would work just fine. And all you would do is put your berries in there, and just using the back of the spoon, press it until all of the pulp and the juice is out, and then discard the seeds. I also wanted to get a bowl to make sure we had a place to put the discarded seeds. So I just started off and put a little bit of pulp in here, and I just go around like this, and it will release all the juice. And then I can keep going. Oh, I need a spatula, just a second. And then I get my spatula, and I can keep going and adding fruit, and then finally discard this, or I can take whatever's in here right now and put it in a bowl, my discard bowl. But I think I'm gonna add some more juice and stuff to this, and then once I get quite a bit, I'll discard it. So let's add a couple of spoonfuls, and this is hot. You want it to be hot because it will go through the strainer a lot easier. And again, this is really easy. Just like that. Now, if you notice a few seeds are getting in there, that's okay. I'm going to, and I don't think any of them are, But if you did notice they were, you can put them through the screened colander after you strained it through here, and it'll go through real quickly on that. And it would hold any of those seeds that got out. I don't think there's really any getting in there, and I really don't care if there's a few seeds in there. So I don't think I'm going to do the second straining. Now this is a recipe from the National Center of Home and Food Preservation, and they have free recipes, all safe and tested, and it's put out by the USDA, and it is for berry syrup. And I will share the link, and it'll come up if you click on the link in my description box below. But in this one, they are going to take the pulp out too. They're going to strain it and then put it through cheesecloth after that and just get the juice. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the pulp because that will make it richer and thicker. And it shouldn't affect the recipe because it shouldn't be much thicker than the syrup will be. And we just keep doing this. So I'm going to bring you back after I have all of this strained out. I'm bringing you back. I've finished straining the raspberries in this strainer, and this is what I got left over. But I used a lot of strength and it went really quite fast, and so I think because I pushed so hard, I did get quite a few seeds in my pulp here. And so before I brought you back on, I wanted to try and see if it's worth my time to put it through a screen colander. And I think it is. Now, I have that one that I showed you earlier. It has smaller screen pieces in it. It's a smaller weave. This one's a little larger. It's still small enough that it won't let the seeds go through. So I just switched to this one. And all I'm doing is pouring my pulp and juice in there and straining it like this. Now, I wouldn't go to all this trouble if I didn't want the pulp. I want the pulp. If I just wanted a clear syrup, I would take those berries and I would just put just a little bit of water, not much, maybe a half a cup of water. I would cook them down just to get them nice and hot and bursting. Then I'd put them in cheesecloth or a dish towel, the old flour sack tea towels, or even a pillowcase or a jelly strainer, and I would strain it like jelly and just get the juice. That's a lot easier than doing this, but I do want the pulp in mine, so that's why I'm going ahead and doing this. Now, in this recipe, they don't mention anything about that. They have you cook and then run it through your sieve, and then they have you strain it in cheesecloth. But if you're just wanting the juice, just do it one time and don't mess with this. But this went really quickly. It's just, I think I pushed quite hard and I got a lot of seeds in there. So I'm just gonna remedy that, and I'm going to, this won't have any seeds, I don't think. I think this screen on here is too narrow for seeds to go through, but we'll see. I could be wrong. But I'm just going to go ahead and finish up putting this through. It's not taking but a few minutes to do. And my fingers are getting quite purple from doing that. But again, I think I can get them cleaned off with a little bit of peroxide. So I'll bring you back after I have all this juice run through this screen. This time, there's not a whole lot of stuff going through, and it's just passing through real quickly. So, bring you right back. All right, now we're back. Now, after I strained it in the sieve, this is the additional seeds that I got out of it. And this went real quickly because it was already pretty pulpy and liquidy. So, that didn't take very long. It probably took 10 minutes to get it out. And just remember, if you're running it through a screen like this, scrape the bottom and the sides, because sometimes that will get packed in and it won't feed through. So just keep it scraped on the inside and underneath too. Well, after all of that, I have now a little over 8 cups of juice. Now, according to this recipe, you need, it says the yield of the pressed juice should be about 4.5 to 5 cups. So, of course, I had more berries, and so I have a little over 8 cups. It says to 4.5 to 5 cups of juice, you're going to add 6 3/4 cups of sugar. Now remember, this is syrup. It's not something you're going to drink a glass of. If you do put this into like lemonade or into a 7-Up or something like that, you just need a spoonful and it will flavor your drink. Also, when you are using it for pancakes and things, just like syrup or anything else you put on pancakes, if it's got sugar in it, it's going to be pretty sweet. So this isn't something we eat by the bowlful. We just use it sparingly, but it's going to be really good. So I will be adding, I figured out kind of the ratio there, and I'll be adding just about 11 cups of sugar to my a little over 8 cups of juice. And it did say here, to make a syrup with whole fruit, pieces, save 1 or 2 cups of the fresh or frozen fruit. Combine these with the sugar and simmer as in making your regular syrup. So I could have left out, if I wanted to have some whole berries in there, I could have left some out. And then as I get ready to cook it, put those in, and then they would just be part of the cooking part at the end. That way you'd have some whole fruit in there. And really, I like to have the pulp, so it's going to be better with the pulp, I think. Let's see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to mix my juice and my sugar together, and then I am going to be putting this on the burner, and I'm going to be cooking it until it comes to a boil, and then I'm going to simmer it for a minute. So it doesn't take long to cook. Your work is all in getting the berries prepared, and that makes it real easy. After it's cooked, we will jar it up, and I'll follow the directions there and let you know how to do that. I will put a link to this page in the description box below, so you'll have that recipe. So let's go ahead and let's just start with the juice, and I hope my pan's big enough. If not, I'll switch out pans. I did decide to use this pan because it's got a heavier bottom. I could use the same one I was using a while ago, but I just didn't want to risk scorching it. So I think this will be fine. And it's just nice and rich juice. It's still thin, but it's thicker and just got more flavor than just straight juice. And I am getting every bit of that out of there. We worked hard to get that. And it does smell really good. And then I'll start with my spatula. And I am just going to add this sugar, and it should dissolve in that juice. Start with that much. That way we can kind of gauge how full this is going to be. Yeah, it sinks down in there and dissolves. This will be probably the prettiest syrup that I've ever made. I make strawberry and blueberry. Blueberry's pretty too, but boy, this is just a rich color. And it's not completely purple. It's got a red cast to it. looks great. So I'm not going to bring the camera over to the stove. It's just got to come to a boil and simmer for 1 minute. That's not anything that needs to be watched. So I am just going to come back when this is cooked, and I will have my jars all ready. Again, when you're canning, you don't have to sterilize your jars. This is a water bath or a steam canner recipe. And so you don't have to have sterilized jars. It will sterilize the jars in the process of canning. So when we come back, I'll have everything set up and we'll start jarring up our syrup and getting it in, and I'm doing steam canner, getting it in the steam canner. So it looks like that's dissolved in there and ready to go on the heat. I'll bring you back when it's done. I have just taken the syrup off the stove. It boiled for 1 minute. And now I am just taking the foam off, and you can just get you I'm just using a big stainless steel spoon. Any kind of spoon will work. And I'm just taking it off the top. And it would be fine in your syrup, but it doesn't look too appetizing when you open your jar. So we'll just get what we can off the top. Just like jelly, just skim off that foam. And you know, this is good to eat too, so you can just put some of that on toast or whatever, or use it to sample. All right, so this is very hot. You don't want this to get on you. Put that around the edge there. Okay, so now we are ready to ladle up our jars. Now with this recipe, you can use pints or you can use half pints. I'm going to use pints, and for my area, I need to process it for just 10 minutes, just like jellies and jams. I am using a steam canner, so I've just turned it on. If you're using a regular water bath canner, you'll need to have that going and be ready for these jars when they are finished being filled. The water should be boiling because this is going to be very hot. So since this is hot, the water in your processor needs to be hot too, because we do hot with hot. If this were cold, then you could start off with cold. So let's just jar some of this up. We are going to leave a 1/2 inch headspace on this. So let's just see what we can do. And this is so pretty, and I did taste it, and it tastes really, really, really good. Really rich, which is what you want when you're making a syrup, because you don't want to use too much of it, but what you use, you want to have lots of flavor in. So we're going to fill it to a 1/2 inch headspace. And since this is a liquid, I don't need to debubble. So I'm going to do that one and see how many jars we get. Remember, mine was not the same amount of berries as the recipe. I had more. For this recipe, it said you're going to get about 9 half pints, so that would be about 4.5 pints. So I should probably have, it's getting hot. Oh, let's see, maybe 6 or 7. 7 would be nice. That would fill my canner. Well, actually, I think I can get 9 in the canner. When you're doing when you're doing pints, I believe it's 9. If it's quarts, it's 7. And I think I could get 9. So if I get 9 out of it, this would be great. But I'm not. Didn't have enough juice for 9. Very, very hot. And also, before you fill your jars, you know, check your jars and make sure you don't have any little cracks in them or there's no nicks on the rim, because if there's a nick on the rim of your jar, it will keep it from sealing. Right now I've got it at about an inch headspace, but I'll go back in and top it off here in just a second. And sometimes I go a little less than what it says just because I don't like my jars to siphon. And so I might just go between 1/2 and 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And we're doing pretty good. I've got 5, whoops, better get my funnel. I've got 5 there. And I know I have at least a full one here and maybe another full one. It may be 7. We'll see. If we don't get a full 7, we'll just keep it in the refrigerator. Or I could put it in a 1/2 pint jar and seal it, but I think we'll probably want to try this and enjoy it. So before I fill this one, that's my 7th one, I'm just going to go around and just get it to the level that it needs to be. That looks good. So let's see how much we can get. Let's see if this is a full jar or not. Wants to stick. Nope, it would be a 1/2 of one, but we're not going to mess with that. We're going to keep this one in the refrigerator. Let me go ahead and scrape all of this in. It does coat the pan really well. So it is going to be a little bit thicker, which is nice. Okay, so this one's ours that will go in the refrigerator. Almost a full one, not quite. So now let's put the lids on, and I have some vinegar right here. Let me get a paper towel. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dip our paper towel in the vinegar because this is sticky and the vinegar will break up that stickiness and it will clean those rims really nicely. And as you're cleaning them, check the rims to see if there's any nicks. And if there is, replace the jar with another one. And I tell you, the jars are getting hot. They've been sitting in with that syrup in there. Hard to hold them. Now, you don't need to sterilize your lids. They will also be sterilized in the process of canning. And as you know, I love my steam canner, and it is so nice to not have to take long to heat up. I just turned it on when I brought this over, and it is now ready to go, so that is perfect. The water is boiling. So we're gonna put our lids on. And our rings. Now be careful with your rings, make sure they are good. If they are faulty and they are rusty, they might not give a firm enough hold, and it might not seal your jar. And again, I'm just doing fingertip tight. You don't want to wrench down on them, and those jars are hot, so you want to just do it fingertip tight. And sometimes I go off and go back on just to make sure I got it on the rings, or I got it on the what are those called? And we need one more. Okay, so these are ready to go in the steam canner, and the steam canner is ready. And if you're not familiar with the steam canner, I just did a video for a raspberry pie filling, and I show you what it looks like and how you time it and everything. But we are going to be processing this in a water bath or a steam canner for 10 minutes. And it means 10 minutes after the water comes to a boil in a water bath, or 10 minutes after it reaches the temperature that it needs to in your steam canner. So I'm gonna get these in, but before I do, while this syrup was cooking and heating up, I did a little research because I was getting ready to toss my pulp and seeds, and actually those things can be made into something else too. One of the ideas was that somebody said it's great for dehydrating and then adding to make teas with, you know, a hot steep tea, and you would just dehydrate the pulp and the seeds, and then, you know, break it up and put it into probably little tea bags, or you could use an infuser and just boil it, and you'll have a really pretty pink or purple tea that you can have a little bit of that flavor, and it can be added with other leaves as well. Another thing was raspberry vinegar. So what I did was, it said to fill the jar 3/4 of the way up with your pulp, and so I did, and then top it off with either white wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar. And I have some white wine vinegar, but I didn't want to use it for this because I've never tried it before, so I just used my apple cider vinegar. And if you're using the store-bought vinegars, they are high enough acid, and then you'll just leave it out on the counter. I'm not putting a lid on it because I know that this will ferment a little bit more in here, and that way it can breathe. But I do have a cloth lid, and if you want to make one of these jar bonnets, I have a video on it, and I'll link it in the description box. The other thing that I did with I had a little bit left of pulp after I filled that 3/4 full, and I took some vodka and I put the leftover pulp in here and topped it off with vodka. Now you just want to make sure it's completely covered, and every once in a while, you know, give it a shake. And after so long of steeping, you can test it and see if it's the flavor you want. The longer you steep it, the longer the stronger it will taste. But this will be great as a flavoring. It will be great to add into a drink. Any of those things would be super. But just out of the scraps, we came up with 2 other things. So these raspberries are great. I can't wait to taste our raspberry syrup. Right now, I'm gonna get these on the canner. After they get done, I will leave, after 10 minutes of processing, I will leave them in the canner for 10 minutes with the lid on, turn the heat off, and then I will open it up and take them and put them on a mat on my counter and let them cool the rest of the way. And I always let them cool about 24 hours, and then I take the rings off and wash the jars. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something and are able to use these recipes and make your own raspberry jellies, jams, syrups, vinegars, liqueurs, and I hope you come back again soon. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And also don't forget to like and share. Thanks so much for visiting, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.